Hello and welcome to the first episode of Training Amanda. This will be a new series that focuses on a singular player that I know who is a low to mid-level silver player presently, and we'll follow her improvements and hope to help her out with how to improve, where to focus to help speed that along. So each time through, we're going to look at something new that should be focused on. We may point out little things here and there, but we'll have a central point to get across in the game. We'll look at a couple games to demonstrate where that part is lacking, maybe an example of where it's shone through in a game, and bring up an example showing how to execute what's missing. So a lot of generics there, but basically we're going to say how to improve something. So in this first episode, what we're going to focus on is not actually anything to do with actually playing the game, but what you plan to do while playing the game. The first point that I want to focus on is something when I was looking through these initial batch of replays that really stood out to me, and that is a plan. Now, my idea of a plan is a little different than everyone's favorite, be a better player streamer Day9 suggests, which is an overall plan, which he suggests an overall plan of how you're going to win the game. That is, he often gives an example of, I'm going to get my expand up, get a third, get to Broodlords, kill him with, Infested Broodlord, for example. I don't think you need to go into quite that much detail, though it is definitely good to have an overall idea of that. I prefer to think of it as an immediate plan. What are you going to do next and why? So, for example, your current plan should fall into one of two categories. One is expand, or two is attack. One of these two, in generic terms, should be your plan at any given moment in a very short-term sense. So if you're not planning on expanding, you need to be planning on attacking. If you're doing neither, then something is wrong. In a more specific sense, you could look at a specific build that you're going to do. I'm going to do this exact build, and that is how I'm going to win. So let's look at this game. First, we'll run through the game very quickly to see what happened, and then we'll look at the specifics of why. So we have Amanda up here in the upper left. We're just going to ×8 this go really through. She is the blue Protoss. Her opponent is FNF. OMG. The red Protoss in the bottom left. You see a scout from both players now going in the wrong direction. Unfortunate for her because that takes a really long time. Hiding over here is a probe. But that's spotted. Very good. Thinking around the base, finding that hidden probe. Does not want to have a Poxipal on space. See the FNF OMG goes in for a one gate expand, very dangerous. But Amanda does not get wind of that. If you look, no scary information on that. Builds up a whole bunch of gateway units here. Expand expansion. Here goes the army moving down the map stuff. The Watchtower puts down a pylon here, goes in, attacks, doesn't go quite their way, and losing all of that army, plus already being behind in economy, just cannot catch up after that. And we see, that doesn't quite go as well as we would have liked. No detection right there, but doesn't matter. Already losing all of her base, pretty much no coming back. So what happened? Well, my key point here was plan, so let's watch what she does here. Not a whole lot to go over initially, but we'll see. We get a gate, gate, gate. So we get 3 gates for any sort of expansion. Okay. We also get a Twilight Council. Now let's see if we do anything with this Twilight Council. We actually start researching and chrono boosting out charge. So, based on this build order, what's the plan? Well, the plan appears to be to attack with charge. So, here's the big problem here. There are several problems with what happens with this plan. We have this probe out on the map, but that just goes into scout. We actually don't have any proxy pylon. Charge is now done, and then we put down an expansion. So no proxy pylon plus an expansion is contrary to our plan. Our plan is to attack with charge, and we're not really doing that. Those things are contrary. We still do attack with charge, but it's late, and we're missing a proxy pylon, which makes it even more late. And if we actually watch what happens here, we get the pylon down, but before waiting for it to finish and get another warp-in round down here, or warping in and catching up and then doing a warp-in later, the push-in goes ahead with fewer units. So this extra warp-in are units where it's just only in the opponent's favor. We're not warping in anything, we're just letting them get ahead. So instead of several more zealots, maybe a couple more stalkers, we've got the gas for more stalkers, so we've got charge lots, so we're really focusing on that more than anything. We're just missing more units. What else is contrary here to our plan is that we're banking a lot of gas, and we don't really have anywhere to dump it. Your charge lots in the early game, what's going to support them? You could have sentries. Stalkers can support zealots very well. That's very common, but we're not going to be spending a lot, so we're just banking up too much gas here. But that's not as big of an issue it's not as big of an issue. We're not too focused in this episode. This time around, we're not too focused on getting the perfect macro. We're just having a plan and executing it in a way that makes sense. So with these extra warp-ins, it's actually in our opponent's favor. They've got the better army here. Charge may allow you to land your attacks better and quicker, but if zealot versus zealot, it doesn't matter if you charge in, right? So we have 9 zealots and then 7. So 9 versus 7. Now what happens is this battle could have gone either way depending on micro, but the reason this went very one-sided in favor of FOMG is that Amanda actually ends up target firing this pylon. I don't know if that was intentional or it was just a misclick. Either way, it was not something that should have been done. There's the engagement here. Basically attack, move into each other, and then micro individually based on that, or in clumps, move back to stalkers, kite the zealots, that kind of thing. But focusing on the pylon, no reason to do that, and that's what caused this to go one way. But if we had executed, moved out before charge was finishing, with a proxy pylon in place, with a warp-in on time, to attack just as charge finished, this would have been horribly one-sided in favor of Amanda. Instead, it went completely the other way. This actually still could have been her game in this engagement if it weren't for that misclick. So remember, it's very easy to focus on macro, macro, macro. You should be able to win with pure macro, which is mostly true at these low levels especially. But even minor things in terms of execution can make a huge difference because, again, we are at a lower level. So it's it's good to point out different areas because most can appreciate. There's only so many times you can repeat pylons and probes, though I'm sure that will come up in the future. So that was the main thing in this game. If we actually look at the workers, FNF OMG is ahead in workers. If Chrono Boosts were spent on workers by Amanda, it would probably be even though FNF OMG had that Nexus up first because the Chrono Boost there, as we see 100-100, and 100-100 not being used properly either. But That's more of a macro thing. We're looking at the plan, and the plan didn't make quite a lot of sense. We don't have a specific idea of what we're doing. And not even critiquing the idea of the plan itself. A one-base charge lot is not a standard build in the least, and will fail miserably if you have to go up a ramp, because it can just force field you off. Tal'Darim, not a bad choice for this build, actually, but it's not undoable, and as long as we follow the plan, that's what I'm looking for here. So let's go into another game where there's a bit more clear of a plan, and see it come through. Let's still see where there may be some hurdles. Let's open up that replay. Get this here. We have a PVT on Entomb. That's not it. There it is. Now each episode I'm going to look for a moment that I particularly like. Doesn't have to have anything to do with the lesson of the day. It just happens to be something that I like, and this game contains it. I'll show you that later. But first, let's run through this very quickly, and again, see what happens, why it happens, where we can improve. So we're seeing over on Warheart, he's got 3 barracks up pretty quickly here. Definitely one-basing this, at least in terms of what the plan looks like for Warheart. Over here we have a similar build coming out here. Actually, 3 gates and a forge instead of a twilight here, so we actually get the forge out first. The cannon down here, some pilot down here, puts up a couple of scanners to look at their vision. You can see this is a one-base play, so I can understand why there's a bit of a turtle up, playing very, very, very safely. This is a bit late, even understanding this all incoming, but that's fair enough. Wasn't possibly observed, and then we got into the main. And that did not work out at all. Turns around, runs home. Upon seeing that, there's a warp in. Another warp in. Goes for the counterattack. 2 bunkers up. Not the best engagement. Has to run by. That just did not work out. And that really hurt now. The supply swings back the other way. There's now a 3rd base up. More gateways down. We have a Twilight Council. Lots of sentries. Here, but lots of DCs clean that up. Go to back. So this has gone back and forth. Tons of Archons now showing up in the fray. Poke in, move back. Out, and now we move into equipment scenario. And it takes up the naturals, and taking up the main. We have Warheart moving back. Looks at all of these Archons with some units to spare, but has lost his natural in the main. Now he's going to try and counterattack, kills off the army, and that is just about that. Calls in GG. That's it. So that one went in the man's favor. Now, the plan in this game, in general, was, build up a Zealot Archon army and attack. A Charge Lot Archon. That's what we were looking at in this game. Now, that plan got messed up. That can happen. Our opponent went for a 1-base all-in, so we had to kind of delay that, be a bit more safe. Still got the expansion up. But played safe, got extra defenses, played back, got defensive units like sentries, made sure we could hold it, and then continued with our plan. As long as you get back to that plan, it's fine. You just have to have that to put you back on track. Have that idea in mind. You can actually change midway through, but that's in terms of what you've seen, and that's important, but it's very difficult. So it's best to try and wrap it around your original concept and make that work. It's the simplest way to look at it. sometimes the plan may never come up. If someone just worker rushes you, probably not going to make it to your